Check, check, microphone check.
All
Hey,
right,
welcome.
we're on.
We are on. Welcome everybody in the Irreverent Warriors world, as well as the Grunt Style Foundation. I'm Hugh with Irreverent Warriors, and I'm here with Will Wisner, Executive Director, Grunt Style Foundation, and we're joined today by special guest, Lieutenant Commander Trey Warren, who is going to share a fascinating story, one of the most fascinating I've heard.
You are definitely one of the most fascinating men I've ever met, man. You've got like the whole crazy package of background.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, that's one.
Yeah. Fighter pilot who, post-service, suffered from mental health, like all of us, suicidal ideation, and tried a lot of different things, substance abuse. I think all of us share the same path, and it ended up doing some original and very difficult methods of holistic modalities in order to find himself again, and is now thriving. So we can't wait to get into that story. That's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, it's like a real-life Tom Cruise from Top Gun. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. He's actually a Top Gun guy, which we may spend more time talking about that.
We may talk a lot,
than anything else. But first, I wanted to check in with Will. I know you've been doing a lot with the Grunt Style Foundation, as always, on the advocacy side.
That's right.
What's the latest in your world? I know you just gave a talk.
We did. Man, there's a lot going on. So our good old friend, the Turtle, Mitch McConnell, and his shenanigans of, he's the guy behind this insertion of this amendment to the continuing resolution that President Trump signed last week to reopen the government. I think we talked a little bit about that last week. And basically we got a year before the entire hemp industry is completely destroyed. So I think that battle will really start picking up around January, February is probably when all that stuff's going to really start kicking loose. But right now, not a good situation. So we've got a year to get something done.
It's fascinating to me that somehow some of these old players in this system that's of power that's currently in play are able to illegalize hemp, cannabis plant, things like that. Like in this day and age, you always feel like we're taking two steps forward and then we take a big step back,
Well, you can't account for the lobbyists, man. That's exactly what's going on here.
Because it's impacting revenue. It's impacting revenue.
And so you got the big alcohol industry, and you got like the local dispensaries trying to make a monopoly, like what you see here in Missouri on the dispensary side. And, they've been flooding the zone. This has been a coordinated effort all across the country. The foundation has been involved in advocating against these draconian prohibitive type of legislations across numerous states in the country. But we fought this in California, we fought this in Iowa, we fought this in Texas. That was the big one, right, that everybody across the country's tracking. It's been in Tennessee, it's been in Kentucky, it's in Alabama. This thing is over. They're flooding the zone. And we keep beating them over and over and over again. I say we as collectively, as the citizens of the country that are passionate about this issue. That's who is standing up and making this incredibly difficult for the politicians to do the bidding of their lobbyist masters, is the way I see it. And we even shut them down at a county level effort here in St. Louis County with city or county councilwoman Clancy. That was side hustling for the dispensary industry back in 2019. So we shut that down. So they can't win on their own merits through the system that we have in our country is designed to make things happen through the legislative process. So what they have done here is in the 11th hour, they dropped in this amendment into the continuing resolution bill. That was, the Democrats had just kind of given up, I think.
Everybody had given up. I'd given up. I didn't even read the news anymore.
Well, in terms of how the engine runs, right? So, the thing was basically a standoff over the ACA thing with the continuing health care and all that finally went nowhere. Boom, they slid in this amendment that does essentially most of what, has been attempted at these other state level engagements. And the thing that by that point in time politically, it's too big of a thing to let fail. Senators Cruz and Rand Paul really kind of drove that effort. Massey from Kentucky jumped on that as well. So the Republicans were trying to push that out. This is so weird, man. Everything jumps back and forth. It's Democrats over here and Republicans over here. This stuff that's one of the points I like to highlight on is why the political affiliation, the tribal polarization of our country Makes no sense because it bounces, and they're just two wings on the same bird, man. That's how I see it.
Yeah. So let me get this straight. So if I'm big alcohol or I'm a dispensary, my revenues are being impacted. And so I need to legalize hemp in order to force that spend of those people, force everybody to come to me so that my profitability, my revenue increases and my profitability jumps sky high.
Yeah, that's pretty close. I mean, so the alcohol industry took a 40% hit once the cannabis became available across the country. And so suddenly, spontaneously now, across the country, all these politicians in different areas suddenly became really concerned with the children because some of these hemp things have cartoons on the packaging.
If they eat 5 marijuanas, then they're going to throw themselves in front of a train.
That's right. That's the famous there from old Dan Patrick, go eat a dick, Lieutenant Governor down in Texas on, poor Timmy Johnson did the 5 marijuanas and fell himself in front of the train. It's just nonsense. It's fear-mongering propaganda. And,
it works apparently because they just got a bill signed.
But that's the thing; it doesn't work, right? They have been defeated in all of these individual efforts.
Yes, they had to do something sneaky.
Yeah, there's nothing in that amendment over hemp that meant anything to reopening the government or budgeting or any of that stuff. It was just literally slide it in there. It's too big to fail, and for whatever reason, there was no backbone in the Congress.
Everyone was just done.
To do it.
It was the perfect time to sneak in anything.
Well, they could have killed that, man. They could have pulled that amendment out. They just chose not to. So that's really the question: is why?
Because if every single politician is getting donations from their local giant alcohol distributor,
well,
aren't they all incentivized to kind of look the other way?
Well, one would think. I don't know that definitively, but I highly suspect that's probably kind of what's at the bottom of that rabbit hole.
Fascinating.
So,
well,
there you go, kids. That's what we're up to right now. And we are about to start our annual appeal efforts. So we've got Giving Tuesday is coming up. So we're about to launch our effort on that. So everybody put that on your calendar. If you support a charity of some type over the course of the year, and Giving Tuesday is your day that you want to make that bigger impact, because we get a lot of $5, $10 donations, that kind of a thing. Giving Tuesday is the day where we ask for larger support. And generally we ask for about $333 is what we ask for an annual commitment. And that money is really critical because, it's hard to raise money to cover the overhead, right? The administration costs, the rent, all those things that go into running a business.
Insurance, compliance, and accounting.
Which is insanely expensive, just the way the nonprofit law is by state, and you have to be in compliance.
Yeah, every state has its own IRS, and every state has its own costs and accounting reports that it needs from you. So it's almost like you're dealing with, we're in 54 states and territories at Irreverent Warriors, and we've got to follow 54 different states and territories, treasury departments,
right,
and revenue departments.
And we're such a small organization, we don't have the infrastructure to just put somebody on that to handle that full time.
No, you're looking at the guys that handle the compliance.
We have to cover down on that, and that takes away time. So, it'd be really helpful if we had enough support from the community where we could hire a compliance officer or something like that to take care of some of this insidious nonsense from the government that they make us do. But that is coming up on Giving Tuesday, and then from there we're going to launch into our annual appeal. We're going to be celebrating and highlighting all the awesome things that we have done over the past year, and ask folks to kindly take into consideration supporting the Grunt Style Foundation and our Irreverent Warriors for their charitable donations. All of that's tax deductible, and that's what we got going on.
Awesome. Love it. Before we jump in with Lieutenant Commander Trey Warren, I wanted to touch on a survey data study that we got of our survey data at Irreverent Warriors, and I wanted to share some of the highlights with everybody because we've never shared this before, so I thought it might be interesting. This was a study done on our survey data from all of 2024 and 2025. This is from all the volunteers and newsletter recipients. It has a 90% confidence level and a 10% margin of error. And this is what we're hearing about the IW events. 57% of veterans reported their suicidal ideation fully stopped or significantly improved after attending IW events. 65% of veterans saw their feelings of despair fully stop or significantly improve. 41% of veterans who previously struggled with substance abuse saw major improvement after joining IW. 40% of IW participants are female. That's fantastic
huge.
data,
Yeah.
because only 11% of veterans are female. So we're doing something different than anybody else.
We're a safe area.
We are. And it's specifically, we double clicked into suicidal ideation. Before IW, 34% of respondents reported experienced suicidal ideation at least monthly. And after participating in IW events, 57% saw improvement or complete cessation. And then for despair and hopelessness, 50% of veterans reported experiencing daily or weekly despair. After IW, 65% reported significant improvement, 8% fully stopped experiencing despair, and hopelessness, 56% saw improvement, with 18% reporting a complete elimination of that feeling.
Man, that is a great testament to the power of community. That's what that is.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, on that high note of despair and hopelessness and everything, let's jump in with Trey Warren. Trey, would love for you to introduce yourself and just go back as far as you want to go back and start telling us, like, what brought your journey to where you're sitting on this podcast with us today talking about healing.
Yeah, so thanks for letting me follow that despairing message.
Merry Christmas, Trey.
Yeah, hopefully mine will be a little more uplifting. So I don't want to go through too much of the combat, but 4 deployments over, I think, about 9-10 years.
And what was the time frame? Was it
2000 to 2008?
Yep.
So I had one pre 9/11 deployment and then 3 post 9/11. 3 of them were flying off aircraft carriers. I've got 460 catapults and traps. Luckily, those numbers equal each other. I know guys that have 1 fewer trap than they do a catapult shot.
And can you explain to the audience what that means?
They had to eject.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I've been there, almost there 3 times. Luckily, I never quite had to pull the handle.
Hey, do you guys, what happens when pilots eject? Are they like super scrutinized to see if they screwed something up, or are they pretty forgiving about that?
Yeah, you're down until you go to a board. There's a board that
you're
meets.
grounded.
Yeah, there's a board that meets, and they review everything and decide if you made a mistake and threw the $60 million jet in the water, or if your ejection was actually warranted.
And what airframe is this?
Every naval airframe. So I flew F-14s initially, and then switched to the Super Hornet when they shit canned the F-14.
Which is the 18?
Yeah, the F-18 Super Hornet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah, those flew close air support for my unit in Iraq and Afghanistan, so very familiar with that. That powerful sound, and then once it kicks up like that,
doing shows of force, spitting flares out.
I mean, it scared the shit out of me. So I mean, I couldn't imagine being a Taliban guy.
Yeah,
also been in that situation, and I can attest, sir, that will stop both mortars and snipers.
That's good to hear.
You guys are good at what you do.
Yeah, the show of force was always the first thing we went to. And interestingly, Hugh, you're going to love this. I was trained by the Marine Corps to be a ground FAC.
Woo!
And then I jumped into training to be a FAC A. And so I did a lot of FAC A missions in Afghanistan.
Fascinating.
And in Iraq.
And can you decipher what that is?
So a ground FAC or a FAC A is somebody who's trained to control friendly fires within close proximity to enemy, friendly and enemy forces. So, there's no set definition of close proximity. But
eyes on.
It really depends on kind of the battle space commander too.
Yeah.
But, we worked in everybody's battle space, Army, Marine Corps, and then working in with Special Forces who are always just, inserting themselves into everybody's battle space. And, and especially in Afghanistan. We were in for Afghanistan in the summer of 2002 during the first full fighting season. And holy shit, was that crazy. Just a lot of missions up and down the mountains. And then, interestingly, most people don't know this. So about October-ish, 2002, the passes in the east of Afghanistan all get snowed in. Taliban decide I'm just going to hunker down. It's cold as shit here. So they move us into the Persian Gulf, and we start doing what's still Operation Southern Watch. I mean, shit, we dropped as many bombs in Iraq in that 3-month period we were there that we did in Afghanistan during the fighting season, because we all knew we were about to invade Iraq. And so we were interpreting the ROE extremely liberally so that we could go hit command and control nodes and radar sites. And I was one of the few people that also did reconnaissance missions in the F-14.
Wow.
That sounds
We had a little photo pod we carried, and they would purposefully fly us either right through the edge or right on the edge of what we called the super mez, but it was this missile engagement zone around Baghdad. And so every time you'd fly in there, Saddam would start hosing off missiles at you and shooting AAA, and they would always fly the recce missions through there. And then as soon as we get shot at, they'd bring the strike package in and just start bombing the shit out of stuff.
That's 2002?
That was 02, yeah. And so the night before, I'd always kind of peek my head over the scheduler, and I'd see I'm on the recce mission again. I'm like, you fucking dick, come on, man. Yeah, and so it's like every time you went up, you knew it wasn't quite like Memphis Belle, but you'd start seeing these strange little brown clouds popping up, and you're like, God damn it, they're shooting at us again.
Yeah. That's what intentional to draw their fire so they know what to blow up.
Yeah, because the ROE, if we get shot at, then we can go bomb shit.
Yeah, we kind of did the same thing on the ground doing patrols where we roll around, just go through the village and be the bait.
Yeah. We put the mouse out there, and then when the cat tried to come get it, we'd
stomp it.
Everybody hates being the fucking mouse.
I had a good time with it on occasion. I mean, luckily I had wasn't anything super serious bad ever went out when one of those, but boy, you sure are ass puckered when you're doing it.
Oh yeah.
So, okay, so you have this incredible, and you went to Top Gun, is that correct?
Yeah, I graduated from Top Gun in February of 2005.
Wow.
And I went through in a Super Hornet, and it's kind of funny. Most people go through Top Gun, they've got 800 or 900 hours at least at a minimum in the jet. I had about 1,200 hours in the Tomcat when I went through Top Gun, but I went through Top Gun in a Super Hornet, and I only had 42 hours in the Super Hornet when I started off.
Wow.
So I'm still learning what fucking buttons do in the plane. And I'm going through one of the hardest classes, in the hardest class in the Navy.
Yeah.
Which did you prefer, Trey? Did you like the
Which
14 or was it the Tomcat or the Super Hornet?
Yeah. I like both different reasons. The Super Hornet was nice because it's newer. The avionics were nice. It was all glass cockpit, lots of info coming in. The Tomcat, we were still fucking gauges and switches and shit.
Yeah.
But man, that thing hauled ass. I mean, I've no kidding been over 1,000 miles an hour in the Tomcat. I've been Mach 2. I've been up to 54,000 feet and seen the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah.
Wow.
In the Tomcat,
so you can confirm the Earth is not flat.
Yes. I can confirm that with my own eyes.
Wonderful.
Well, one good thing about the F-14, man, I was a kid in the 80s, so, that was the coolest G.I. Joe toy of all time. And then, of course, Top Gun comes out with the F-14. The F-14.
Oh, yeah.
So that remains in my mind the coolest jet we've ever had. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it's a hunk of junk compared to what else we have, but certainly was sexy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. I think there's nothing cooler than when you see a Tomcat on the carrier and it's knelt down, getting ready to launch, and the wings are out. I mean, it just looks like it's about to go kick somebody's ass.
Yeah.
When it's about to get shot off the carrier. Yeah. And every once in a while during the day we'd get launched. They'd launch planes off the carrier during the day simultaneously. We had 2 catapults on the bow and 2 what we called the waist. And so every now and then you'd have 2 Tomcats, and one person would go off the bow, and then right after somebody go off the waist, and you'd end up sitting there looking at each other. And the carrier procedures are you stay at 500 feet until 7 miles, and then you're cleared to climb. And this is all calm out. There is zero talking at the aircraft carrier during the day. So we're launching and recovering, and there's not a fucking word said. And so you look over, you see your buddy and the Tomcat next to you, and you see both jets just go to full AB, and we're drag racing at 500 feet off the ocean to see who can get to 7 miles first and start climbing up.
Yeah, that's nice. That's got to be an awesome memory.
It was fucking awesome.
Hey, what is better? Because the F-14 has 2 people in it, right? And the F-18 is just one? You're flying solo?
No, so F-18 has some single-seaters and some two-seaters.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, and you did, you had a buddy with you in both?
Yeah, so I was actually, I was a backseater. So I was Goose. And so I had to fly in the two-seaters. And so, but, I know, a lot of pilots who were both single seat guys and 2-seat guys, and it just kind of depends on the person. Some guys like being by themselves, for 6-hour missions. Interestingly, though, to do FAC-A missions in the Navy, it could only be 2-seat aircraft. So I know a couple of pilots that wanted to be FAC-As, and so they jumped into the 2-seat squadrons, and so
they could get picked.
So they could, so you could go through the training because they wanted to do FAC-A missions.
Well, and I definitely want to plug an upcoming podcast here real quick, because we recently filmed a podcast with Trey to really go deep and in depth into some of your amazing stories, and there's one in particular with a little potty bag.
Oh, I forgot about that.
We'll save that one for everybody. Check that out. We're going to drop that episode with Trey about middle of December, but not to be missed. Trey's got some stories, everybody. So.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so I'm following you. You have this intense military career, kind of like all of us. Combat, high sense of purpose. You've got a platoon or a squadron or a flight that you're really tight with. They have your back. There's a community. Everybody knows each other. You're all in this together. And then that's kind of your emotional safety net. And then one day you wake up, your kind of emotional safety net's gone. You feel distance between you and those folks, like you've kind of been disconnected from them because they continue to go on and do missions and move on with their lives, and you're outside of the military. And then the sense of purpose and the adrenaline and the next thing career-wise, or the next challenge, combat-wise, all those kind of success metrics and the different steps that you've kind of seen your life and followed, every day when you got up are kind of gone. And it's just so much at one time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so, so I did one deployment on the ground in 06, 07 in Iraq. I was with Special Forces doing a lot of fire stuff. And then I rolled right out of that right into my last deployment with the Super Hornet Squadron. And so about that time, I was like, I wasn't feeling well at all. I'm drinking on the boat. And people that aren't in the Navy, that they don't know this, you're not allowed to drink on the boat. But I was basically, I set up the system, and my wife's sending me packages, and I'm getting whiskey on the boat. And every combat mission, I go back to my room and I'm just chugging whiskey.
Or before?
After the missions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not before. No. But I'd wake up with fucking hangovers sometimes. But that's how bad I'm feeling on my last deployment. I'm like, I was climbing the fucking walls, and I'm like, man, I got to get out of this. So I get out, and I'm thinking, hey, I just need to get out. I'm too much combat. I flew 192 combat missions. And so, I start doing this manufacturing job. That doesn't work. I start, I go back to graduate school. I start teaching part-time, and I'm just going farther and farther downhill. And I'm just like, man, I cannot figure out what the fuck is wrong with me. While my wife is like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And
are you acting, are you lashing out? Are you just always in a negative headspace? Are you taking it out on others, or are you isolating? Like, how are you handling that?
So I ended up all of the above. And so I think it was about 2019. My dad passes in 2018, and I think I was able to hold everything down because that's what we're taught to do, right? You compartmentalize, you push it down. And after my dad passed, I think my body couldn't do it anymore. And by 2019, I'm drinking, 12 drinks a day, anywhere between 8 and 12 drinks a day, screaming at the kids and my wife, throwing shit around the house,
Been there.
self-isolating, not talking to anybody, just, same stuff you hear.
Had you reached out for any help by that point?
So at that point I did. I went to the VA, and I started on the standard VA protocol of, hey, we're going to med you up and you're going to hang out in somebody's office. So I got passed around to 2 different therapists at the VA. I was on the max amount of Zoloft, Trazodone, and Prazosin because I was having awful nightmares. I'm sleeping down in the basement, living in my closet, waking up crying at 2 a.m. Because you can't sleep. And the first time
those things that you mentioned, they kill your testosterone.
Oh,
which
yeah.
Then your confidence at the same time, you don't know this is happening, but your confidence is gone.
Yeah. Did they have you do talk therapy or anything?
Yeah, I was doing the talk therapy too, but that, just sitting in somebody's office.
Yeah,
and
it's always horseshit.
Yeah,
I always felt like it was like a war porn is what I always felt like it was. Because the people talking have no clue what the hell you're talking about. But they want you to get into the detail, and they always want to focus on the weird, gross shit.
Yeah.
And you don't get very far because your subconscious doesn't really come forward.
Yep.
No.
Like your subconscious is what's holding like all this pain that your conscious mind's like, I don't even understand why I'm so angry all the time. And then you're talking to this person, you're both trying to get to the subconscious without any assistance.
Yeah, I felt like it was almost re-traumatizing every time you talk therapy.
Yeah, you bring things up,
absolutely.
And then you leave the office,
you just leave.
and you're like on the road, and you're like,
okay.
Pills. Take some Ambien, go to sleep.
Let me go home and kick my dog a few times now.
Exactly.
So glad I'm out of that cycle.
Yeah. So, so after that, or during this period is the first time I was suicidal. And, I remember my wife and I are getting couples therapy at an equine place. And, and she's like, hey, this isn't working. I need a divorce. And I just, and I could not cope. And so I think the therapist knew that something was wrong. And he's like, hey, you all right, man? I'm like, I'm good. And I get in my car and start driving. And then I get a call from the therapist that I'm also seeing at Scott Air Force Base at the vet center there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the therapist at the equine place called him and said, hey, you need to call Trey. And he's like, hey, how are you doing? I'm like, I'm going home to get my pistol. I'm like, I've already got my note written out. I already know what I'm going to do. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And he convinced me first to pull over. And then he convinced me to drive from Wentzville, Missouri, all the way to Scott Air Force Base. And I spent the rest of the day out there with him. The next day I drove all the way out to Scott Air Force Base, spent the whole day with him again. Because he knew I had lots of firearms in my gun safe. I knew the code.
Yeah, I want to foot stomp something here real quick, Trey. Mm-hmm. You had written your suicide note.
I hadn't written it out yet, but I knew in my head I had.
What you were going home to do.
Yeah,
And
I already had it planned.
You'd made that commitment, right?
Yep.
So that's where you were going.
Yep.
It was just a simple act of talking to somebody to give you some hope to hold on.
Yeah. So this guy was able to get me through that intense 2-3 day period.
And I want to kind of double back echo on part of the Spartan pledge, from Boone Cutler, where it's basically you're promising not to take your life by your own hand until you've reached out and talked to a battle buddy first and let him know this is the plan. Yeah. And how brilliant is that to just put in that little mission statement. Here's the proof why that's so important.
Yeah. So after that, go to the VA, and I tell my psychiatrist, get me off this shit. It's not working. She's like, well, let me switch you to a different SSRI. There's other ones you can take. And I'm like,
there's an unlimited amount of pharmaceuticals.
And they come in different doses.
It's like a fucking kid. It's like a fucking vending machine. It's like a candy machine. You're like, hey, pick this candy.
It's a demonic Pez dispenser.
100%. I've been through all of this. Keep going. This is
and
great.
So, and I was on a couple other medications. I can't remember what they were for the side effects, and that's what drives me nuts. You get side effects from the shit, and then they start putting you on the shit for the side effects, and then shit for the side effects for the side effects, and it's like Jesus Christ. And so I felt like I was a zombie walking through life, and I was like, just get me off this shit. Yeah. So she does. She takes me off of all. By this point, I've been on 200 milligrams of Zoloft for almost 2 years, which is a large amount. And she takes me off in 6 weeks, and I end up in really bad
akathisia.
Yeah.
While you're having
SSRI withdrawals.
While you're having suicidal ideation, you get the actual suicidal ideation that's pharmaceutically caused.
Yes. So I'm getting the horrific brain zaps. My skin's on fire. I'm just standing in a cold shower for hours on end just to get relief from my skin on fire. And that was, another 6-month period after the initial suicide ideation started. So that spring, summer of 22 was fucking awful for me. And about in August, my therapist, awesome human being, here in St. Louis, realizes that I got nothing else. He's like, hey man, I think we need to start looking at some alternative shit. He's like, you ever heard of ayahuasca or psilocybin? I'm like, yeah, you mean psychedelics? And one of the vets I knew from my vet group I was going to had just gotten back from an ayahuasca retreat. And so he's like, yeah, I think you need to talk to that dude and maybe see about going down. And so September, I do my first ayahuasca retreat. And interestingly, the SSRI withdrawal symptoms, the akinesia, literally I wake up that Saturday morning after my first ayahuasca ceremony, all that's gone. Yep. It just immediately, instantly gone.
Purged.
Yeah, violently. In my bucket, right? And so that was my introduction into psychedelics. So, I do a couple of ayahuasca ceremonies. I start, then I come home, I start microdosing with psilocybin. I do some larger psilocybin doses. But, I'm thinking, hey, I'm all better now. I finished my PhD, I defend it. So, my dissertation. So, I earned my PhD at this point. And I stopped seeing my therapist. I'm like, I'm cured. I found the magic pill.
So I'm assuming, how had the folks that you were working with these modalities, had they explained the importance of integration and what that means?
No, and that was the key piece that, my therapist had talked to me about integration, but I didn't really understand what that was.
Yeah.
Yes. And for me, it's more important than the medicine, than the plant.
1,000%.
Like the plant opens the door, but the integration is walking through the door, right? And
Absolutely.
doing the work,
yeah.
Right?
Yep. So, fall of last year, I am just a shit hot mess again. My wife and I are screaming at each other, and we have this one awful fight in front of the kids. We're face to face, just screaming at each other. And I remember seeing the kids, and they're holding each other, just terrified.
I know what that feels like.
And yeah, you want to talk about a soul crushing feeling.
Yeah.
At that point, my wife's like, I can't do the roller coaster anymore. You need to get your shit together. You need to get out of the house. And so I end up, that was my third suicidal period from November of last year until February 18th of this year. And literally it was almost every day I'm having fucking awful suicidal ideations again. By this point, my wife had changed the code to the gun safe, but I had a fucking rope in my basement. And our house is out in the woods here in St. Louis. And so I already knew the tree I was going to go to. And there was 1 or 2 days where I walked out in the woods with the rope. And the only thing that kept me from doing it was my kids. Because the therapist at Scott Air Force Base had told me that suicide is generational. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I cannot pass this on to my kids. Mm-hmm. I don't want to fuck them up. And so that thought and the love for my kids is what kept me from throwing that rope over the limb. But I do remember the Sunday. So in February, I decided to go do Ibogaine. And the Sunday before I leave, so 7 days before I go to Mexico, I'm trying to break into my gun safe and I can't get in. I'm just trying every code I think my wife may have done, and I can't get in. And I remember on my basement floor, broke down crying, not because of the state I was in, but because I wanted to end the pain. I couldn't do it anymore. And so thank God I didn't, because a week later I'm in Tijuana at Ambio, and I do.
You
never thought you'd be in Tijuana to heal.
No. I've been to Tijuana to do different things.
The Marines get a little crazy down that way. I hear.
When I was stationed at 29 Palms.
Sweet Jesus,
we didn't go to Tijuana to heal.
Yeah.
No, so I didn't go to that part of Tijuana. Ambio's got, I think, 4 or 5 houses in Tijuana, and they've got one they use just for vets, and it's actually just south of Tijuana. It's up on a bluff that overlooks the Pacific Ocean. It's beautiful. The house is amazing. And I do Ibogaine and 5-MeO, and completely changed my life.
Yeah, did you do the, I'm assuming you did the 5-MeO after the Ibogaine?
I did, yeah. We did Ibogaine Tuesday night, and then 5-MeO was Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
And what's that run, if you don't mind me asking, for the Ibogaine? Any idea what that cost is like for people that are interested?
Yeah, so people that are looking into this, if you want, reach out to me. I'm happy to help shepherd you through this. Places are popping up all over Mexico, and you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Because Ibogaine is not like mushrooms where you can just pop them in your mouth and go sit on somebody's sofa. Ibogaine, if you take too much, you're going to end up in cardiac arrest and in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And so Ambio is one of probably the 4 places I'd recommend people to go to. And Will, you and I have talked about this.
Yeah.
But Ambio, if you just call Ambio up, they have a veterans discount. I want to say it's like $7,000. And Songs for Soldiers, which is a local St. Louis nonprofit, they helped pay for me to go, and after I went, they've actually paid for 12 people to go down to Ambio now.
Wow,
that's amazing.
And so, yeah,
good on those guys. Big shout out to Songs for Soldiers.
Yeah, Dustin Raw, he's helping to pay to send folks down to Ambio to do Ibogaine. After I was the first person they sent.
Yeah. And before I definitely want to settle some minds of people that are listening to this,
Mm-hmm.
because absolutely what you said, man. You can't mess around with Ibogaine. There are cardiotoxic properties that are part of Ibogaine.
Yep.
That does not mean you're going to have a heart attack if you do Ibogaine. What it means is that this has to be administered in a responsible setting, and what they do is you're probably on an IV drip that was full of magnesium, and that magnesium.
We did that before.
Yeah. So for everybody listening, it's not quite as scary as all that.
Good thing you clarified that. Yeah. It's not like you're gonna keel over while you're there. But so the reputable places in Mexico have a really good process. They check your blood work before, because they want to make sure your liver and kidneys can process it. You do an EKG when you get down there because there's some heart things where you just can't do Ibogaine.
Right.
And they've turned people away. And so the whole time I'm in the house, there's nurses. The night we do Ibogaine, there's a doctor, a certified doctor from Mexico, and 4 nurses in the house, while 5 of us are doing Ibogaine. And up in the ceremony room, one of them is always on duty in the ceremony room. We've got an IV PICC line stuck in our arm. I walked around for 3 days with a PICC line in my arm, and we're hooked up to an EKG the whole time you're on Ibogaine. So Ambio gives you 4 pills. The pills are set up in doses in a ratio for your body weight. And they'll give you a 5th pill if you're having trouble getting into it. I was having a hard time getting into it. When I did IO, same thing. I don't know why. I have a hard time, I guess, letting
Surrendering.
go. It's probably that body thing we talked about.
Yeah.
And so I took
gripping reality.
Yeah, I can't let go. And so
open that heart, man.
Yeah. And so I take the 5th pill, and I was psychedelic for 14 hours. And then I had another 12 to 14 hour period after that where I was extremely introspective, just breaking myself through the coals. Why did I do this? Why did I do that? That kind of experience. And when you do Ibogaine, lots of crazy side effects. I won't say awful, but you get nausea, just like you do with ayahuasca. You get auditory hallucinations where it just sounds like people are just talking the whole time. And then you also get this condition where you can't control your arms and your legs. And so when you have to get up to go to the bathroom, a nurse has to help you. You have to lock arms and shuffle. And even doing that is a bitch. I had to sit to piss every time, and I almost fell off the fucking toilet every time I sat to piss, because it does something with your interstitial fluid in your head,
balance,
and your balance is completely fucked while you're under Ibogaine.
But it's all completely worth it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm going again next June.
Game changer, right?
And that's interesting because those are the side effects of Ibogaine. And you're not taking pills to counter the side effects of Ibogaine.
No.
And so, if I had to pick one of the side effect, would I rather? And you were in this for 14 hours, you said?
Yeah, the side effects last for probably maybe 20.
Okay, so I mean, I can deal with 20 hours of being a little dizzy and a little sick, like I got the flu or something, as opposed to here, take this other pill to help this thing and just destroy your life.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so, come out of Ibogaine, and then Thursday afternoon, we jump into 5-MeO. And, people always ask me, because I've done, those 4 psychedelics. I've never done peyote or mescaline or LSD. I'm looking to do LSD in February. But everybody always asks me which one's better. And I'm like, I don't know. They're all good for different reasons.
That's right.
But doing 5-MeO after Ibogaine, man, it was...
Connect you to God, did it?
Yeah. So my experience on 5-MeO, I was able to experience complete ego dissolution, and my conscious self left my body and went into, what's in Buddhism, it was called the truth realm, Dharma Dhatu, where your conscious self goes into a space of infinite space and time. Mm-hmm. And I have no memory of what happened because your brain's not working, other than I guess to keep my heart pumping at the time. But I know I experienced nothing but beauty and love.
Pure, unconditional love.
Yes, I just felt this immense, warm feeling of love while I was there the whole time.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And when I woke up, I remember looking at the ocean and just broke down crying because I couldn't believe the stupid shit I was thinking about doing to myself after I did 5-MeO.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I that resonates with me a lot.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's we found in IW, Will and I have looked at studies that show that you are, I think it's 5 times less likely to die by suicide if you have any spiritual practice.
Yeah, whatsoever. Who cares what it is?
Yeah. So, I mean, you're talking, that is significant. 5 times less likely is significant.
Yes. Yeah, that's amazing. And it's funny you mentioned spirituality, because when I went down to Mexico, literally, like the day I went down there, I was like, fuck God. God doesn't exist. Why would he do this to us? Why would he let us do this to each other? And I sat with God on 5-MeO. And now I'm not religious now, but I am hugely spiritual now after my 5-MeO experience.
Yeah, I mean, And that's what makes me crazy about a lot of this stuff sometimes when I'm talking to people that don't understand or haven't had that experience. It's like this work is extremely spiritual.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is what our ancestors around the globe understood for many years. And it's at some point we have traded culturally and socially a direct connection, a direct line to divinity in whatever way you interpret it, because you're going to have your experience with it, and you're going to have your experience, and it's wildly different.
Yep.
We're trading that direct connection for divinity for dogma. And then there seems to be a larger separation of that connection. So I don't know. And that's not true for everybody. There's people who have incredibly, meaningful spiritual life. I'm not suggesting that's the case. I'm just saying that as a whole, as a collective, we have lost what we once knew.
Yeah.
Well, you put your faith in a group of humans, right?
Yes. Exactly.
Instead of, in my mind, spirituality is direct relationship with spirit.
Yes.
Whereas, a lot of religious institutions, it's much more about these humans are going to interpret the spirit for you, and then you're just going to do what these humans say. And I think anytime you place a human in between you and spirit, all of a sudden you're getting like a human filter. And it's almost like we're a bunch of ants and we're in an ant farm, and one ant's trying to explain to another ant like how the world works. Yeah. But none of them understand how the world works.
Something interesting that I have seen in this space over time is that when people remake that connection, have that kind of experience of what you were talking about, Trey, that being overwhelmed with pure and complete total love, that connection to our Creator, to however you want to view it, can take form in many different ways. A lot of folks that already have a religious tradition that maybe that they were born into, or maybe they converted to at some point in their life, and then they have that experience, that spiritual practice that they have takes on new dimensions. I've not met a lot of people that have abandoned their faith, but I have met a lot of people that have reconnected to their faith. And that has been true across the spectrum of Christian denominations. That is true within the context of just different types of religious organization, whether it's Hinduism or Buddhism or Taoism or Christianity or Islam or, this thing, it just seems to somehow speak to our soul.
Yeah, it does.
And so all of this has pushed you into this space you probably never saw yourself in, which is advocacy. And it sounds like, I believe you're starting to help others.
Yeah. So just want to preface, I'm not a trained therapist, but I've had conversations with people who are struggling and just shared my story, and that there is a way through. There's a path forward. And I'm taking a group of veterans down to Tijuana in March of 2026 to do their own Ibogaine and 5-MeO journey.
Nice.
I'm going to start working on learning how to do integration by practicing on myself, so that I can help others integrate their psychedelic journeys. So I'm, going to be doing a psilocybin journey here soon. I'm doing an LSD journey in February. I'm going back down to Tijuana in June to do my own Ibogaine 5-MeO journey again. I'm gonna self-integrate all of those, and then I'm also now working with a couple of lobbyists here in Missouri, sharing my story of suicidality in order to try to get Missouri on board with two different psychedelic bills, one for psilocybin and one for Ibogaine.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about those? I believe you're working with Holly Thompson-Rader.
I am. Yep. Sure
good friend
am.
of the foundation. We love Holly.
Yeah. So the psilocybin bill, that's been proposed a few times by Stephen Weber in the Senate last couple of years.
Yep.
And so that one's, they're going to be proposed again. But I've been having conversations the last couple of months with representatives in the House. And what we're looking at doing with Ibogaine is we're going to try to get Missouri to join the consortium of states that are going to be doing Ibogaine research. Texas is the big one. They just committed $50 million. Arizona is on board. Mississippi strongly looking at this. And we're making a push right now for Missouri to join that consortium and start doing research on Ibogaine.
That's amazing. And, we had, I think it was 2 years ago now, we had $10 million from the state of Missouri penciled in, I guess, for Ibogaine research. And then one of the larger medical research universities here in town got involved and somehow all of a sudden they convinced it to go over to some study they were doing on psilocybin, which I don't know that went anywhere, but...
Yeah. And so, I don't, like I said, I think there's power in all psychedelics, but I think one of the important things with Ibogaine is the power it has over people with addictions. And so when I went down to Mexico, I mentioned I was a raging alcoholic, just drinking a shitload. I'm coming up on my 1-year sobriety anniversary, December 18th. I have not had a drop of alcohol.
Congratulations, man.
And I have been in social situations. Social. I can't talk now. Say that 10 times fast, right? Yeah. But I've been in bars and at parties where people are just throwing down drinks, and I can smell it. And
how do you feel? Do you feel compelled?
Zero.
I'm like that too.
Craving to have a drink. And
I know, I'm like that too.
Yeah, I attribute that all to Ibogaine. Yeah. And there's studies out there to show that Ibogaine, nobody knows the mechanism, but somehow it helps with addictions, heroin, alcohol.
Yeah, completely resets the opioid receptors in the brain to the state of pre-addiction instantaneously, damn near, and there are no withdrawal side effects. And
zero.
When they come back out of it, they have no desire to re-engage it. Isn't that amazing?
Yep, and Ibogaine's not addictive. I mean, I don't feel a craving to go do Ibogaine. I feel a calling because I'm still healing from my brain injuries, from all the traps and everything.
And that's another interesting thing of Ibogaine. It literally regrows the white matter in the brain. This stuff is healing things like neurological conditions like Parkinson's. This isn't just treating the symptoms, it's healing the disease.
Yes,
it's crazy.
Ambio is doing research right now on Parkinson's and MS with Ibogaine.
Unreal. That's phenomenal.
Yep.
It makes sense to me, though. I mean, it makes sense that nature would find a way to help us heal using nature, and instead of using things that are created in a laboratory.
Yeah, well, we've bastardized nature. With the whole psychotropic meds, it's just isolated compounds suspended in petroleum for the profiteering of John D. Rockefeller back in the day. It's actually the background of it.
Yeah.
But nature is now reasserting itself to undo the damage that we have done to ourselves by way of damaging nature.
That's unbelievable. That nature's like, I'm way ahead of you guys.
Yeah.
I even knew that you guys were going to create things in labs and harm yourselves with them.
Yeah. Well, just shut up and do this instead.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's
fascinating stuff, man. So how are things going now with this advocacy work that you're getting launched into? Is that somewhere you're going to continue to put your focus? Or?
Yeah, as of right now, I am. I've been speaking at events recently, events with other veterans, with state legislators here in Missouri. And so, I'm still doing that. I've told, pretty much everybody involved with the plant medicine push here in Missouri, I'm happy to share my story of suicidality if it'll get Missouri to pass either the psilocybin or the Ibogaine legislation so we can actually use nature to heal.
Yes, and you're involved with the Reverent Warriors.
Yes.
Yeah, I met Trey on Silky's hike.
Yes, first one was in 4th of July, wasn't it?
4th of July, here in St. Louis.
How did that strike you as a newcomer, F-14, F-18 Tomcat pilot, whiz-bang this and that? And then Silky.
So I had never heard of a Silky hike before, a Silky March, and I saw everybody showing up, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yes!
What did I get myself into? And I'm wearing, your standard officer uniform of like cotton shorts and some collared shirt.
Polo.
The West County I'm doing well in St. Louis.
Yes, he had it nailed.
Yeah. And so I go on this Silky March, and I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Just a bunch of people not giving a shit.
Judges.
And just,
we don't care.
Just having fun and just trying to save lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask, I wanted to double click on something you mentioned before, because we talk about integration a lot in the Reverent Warriors community. We talk about holistic healing a lot. Mm-hmm. How do you, when you talked about integration, after doing plant medicines and how you didn't know what it was initially, right? And no one had taught it to you, but you're doing it now. What do you do? What are those things, those habits, those tasks that you do that you could share with others?
Yeah, man, great question. So I've kind of been on this journey the last 6 months to try everything. I'd still like to try combo at one point. I happen to know a combo practitioner. I was going to say, I mentioned that because I know somebody here who sits with combo. But I've do a lot of holotropic breath work now, which it's basically a breathing exercise where you imbalance the oxygen and nitrogen in your body, and it creates a hallucinogenic type state. So I do that. I do traumatic release exercise, which that's interesting. And so that's based on the premise that when we're kids and we get frightened, we start shivering, right? that's your body releasing the fear. And so if you've ever read, there's a book about, storing fear in your body. It's by Bessel van der Kolk, I think is his name. The body, I think it's Body What Keeps a Secret.
Keeps a score.
Yeah, Body Keeps a Score. The idea is you basically do a series of yoga poses, you activate muscles in your legs, and you put your body in a tremoring state. And I do that for 20 minutes, 3 times a week.
Wow, cool.
And it helps your body release anything you're holding in. And so
how did you view those types of modalities before you had these experiences? Did you ever think you were going to be doing yoga and releasing energies?
Yeah, and so I do meditation now. And before, if you told me I'm going to do meditation, TRE, I've done TMS while I'm microdosing right now, and I do TMS. If anybody told me I was going to be doing all this crazy shit, I would have been like, you're out of your fucking mind. There is no way I'm going to be doing this shit.
And you and I were in a Lakota sweat lodge banging drums with the Irreverent Warriors folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah, and so, I think what I've realized in the last 6 months is what you said earlier, Will, where we used to understand this shit and we used to know it, but I think we've gotten so caught up in this Western technology-driven
We're smarter
world.
than nature. We're smarter than nature. We're brilliant.
Yeah, we figured it out, right?
Hubris and arrogance. And that's why, and I am all for
that
research.
Sounds so human.
Yeah.
Clinical research is important. We have to have, because the society we have has rules, and how things work has rules, and you have to go through this to get through clinical research for Schedule 1, which is damn near impossible. That's why we don't have clinical research. So all of that stuff aside, that stuff is, I'm at a loss for words, I guess, where I'm going with it. But you have a modality that just is complicated. And we have people that have 5,000 years of working with these modalities. Why is a cultural anthropological study not a requirement as part of these clinical researches? Yeah, it shouldn't have to be a requirement, but I would hope the people doing the research would look at that part and say, what do these people who have been practicing with this for so long understand that they have to offer? Because really what they're saying is, hey, here's this novel thing. I know nothing about it. We're going to put it through the rigorous testing of the scientific process, and we're going to come up with the whole truth of it. And now we're going to mandate it and regulate it based on our very narrow, simple, recent, new understanding of these processes. And ignore the people that are true masters of this stuff.
Oh, I can answer your question for you. And I'm not demonizing it. I'm just making an observation. We are in a capitalist society. I'm not advocating that go away, but that is what we live in, which means revenue and profitability drives a lot of investment, and it drives a lot of what we look at.
Yes.
So that would be if you can't patent this, what he was describing with the yoga, where you're releasing energy and you're releasing trauma that's stored in the body, if you can't patent that,
it's not going to get
then
attention.
what is the point?
Yeah, there's no monetary value to it.
That should be a giant red flag to those powers that be that are literally holding our lives in their hands when they're talking about how they're going to treat us. And the other part that worries me with it too is on the practitioner side. Met a very interesting young lady last night over at WashU that's working with the Brown School of Social Work and is really ahead of her time for where, this is the generation that's going to carry this work into the future. These are the people that are these social workers that are going to end up being these psychedelic assisted therapy guides.
Sure.
And, the one thing that I am worried about with that group is it's one thing to learn about it, but unless you have sat with that medicine and faced your own darkness and healed the way, to truly understand and work that medicine. And all the kids I've talked to that are in that process of college and going through the experience, these are the right people, man. They
fantastic.
Get it. So I'm
so relieved to hear that. I'm so relieved to hear that.
I can't speak for all of them, but
I've heard with some of the certifications around that. I've heard from people that are going through it that the people to the left and right of them have no concept of indigenous medicine at all.
Oh, every time I go to a psychedelic conference where we're talking to veterans about healing, I often find out about halfway through the panel discussion, I'm the only person on the stage that's actually set with this stuff. And I'm like,
are you serious?
How are you?
It runs into that all the time.
All the time. But they're experts in studying it, or they're experts in reading books about it.
Yes. It's completely wackadoo crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like reading a bunch of of books, a bunch of books about combat and war, and then becoming a war expert.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, but lots of historians like that.
Yeah, armchair quarterbacks. Well, folks, I think we're running up out of time. You want to close us out here, Hugh?
Yes, we've got some fascinating Irreverent Warriors huge events coming up. We've got there will be probably at least 300 people in Las Vegas on December 6th for the Silkies Hike Ruck all around Las Vegas. So see us there. Also, December 13th, San Antonio, Texas is the big final Texas hike of the year. Usually over 300 there. And then we're also going to have the Florida Keys is December 13th, where we are going to be laying to rest Mike Wilkie, one of our famous chapter and regional leaders who went into the VA for a stomach surgery and unfortunately ended up bleeding to death. And that was just very, very hard for our community. But we will be performing a ceremony on 12/12. December 12th, we will be spreading his ashes in the Florida Keys. So, but anyway, we are also going to be having a huge party for him. We've got a band lined up. We've got a boat lined up. We've got an incredible hike lined up with really fun and funny activities. So we're going to laugh for Mike. That's what he would want for sending him off. And so, join us down there December 13th and have a fantastic Thanksgiving. And we are all grateful here for you and for this community. I'm very grateful to spend the time with both of you today. So think about what you're grateful for over the next week and let people know. You love them.
Absolutely. And everybody stay waxy and let that shit go, man. We'll see you next time.
All right.
Hours.
That's like sitting in a Porsche for 8 hours.
Yep.
Spirit Airlines.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
and you can't pull over at the gas station and get
Every
out and stretch your
day?
legs. No, I do those 3 times a week.
Dude, your back has to.
Oh yeah, my back is all fucked up. I've got sciatica, something fierce, and so we played this game where we're like, hey, let's see if we can go that whole 8.5 hours without pissing. And so it's
A game?
Yeah.
Man, you officers are weird, bro.
so it's like I don't know, it's like hour 6.5, and we're on the tanker, and the tankers were always like right by Kandahar, just far enough away from the mountains. And so
Out over the desert.
yeah, and, but we'd always we get in the ticks, we'd always pull the tankers closer because we don't have to fucking go 30 minutes to Kandahar to get gas. And so I think we're on the